hold that comment until we open the public hearing on the budget later this evening. But if you'd like to comment on any other item on our agenda, invite you to step up to the podium and state your name and give us your feedback, please. All right, hearing none, I will move on to the approval of the minutes. Of the regular session minutes of February 12th.
So moved.
A second.
All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Amaral. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And an abstention. All right, so we have 4 yeses and 1 abstention. Next, I will entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes for February 12th.
So moved, Madam Chair, with the stipulation that they be held until the matter for which they were intended is completed.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Dr. Karafotis. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstention?
I will abstain.
All right, so 4 ayes and 1 abstention from Mr. Oliver. We cannot yet move into the public hearing on the budget. We can't do that before 6:45. So next, I am going to move on to our student representative report. I'll ask Charlotte to give us a report, and then we understand you have lots of homework, so we'll allow you to leave after you give us the update on what's going on in the district from the student perspective.
Hello, everybody. So some events in the past few weeks at Dartmouth High School. Students in grades 9 through 11 made their course requests for next year in Aspen, and guidance is scheduling follow-up appointments with students who have requested those. 3 students from Dartmouth High School, Samuel Daughtry, Ben Ackerman, and Elijah Wilson, participated in the All-State Music Festival in Boston with top students from across the state. Congratulations to all of them for representing Dartmouth High School so well. The music department also hosted their annual Pops concert featuring the Dartmouth High School Orchestra, Band, and Chorus, and our very own Mr. Nunes was honored this year for his service to the music department and students of Dartmouth. Ms. True and Ms. Souza organized the DHS TEDx Talks this past week. There were 16 different presentations in total on topics ranging from the cultural importance of theater to the importance of political engagement and how to be a smart consumer in the modern world. Those can be found on the DHS TV media channel on YouTube. The class of 2019, along with their advisors, Ms. Fifield and Ms. Rivard, hosted this year's Mr. Dartmouth competition, where Dane Ashton was crowned Mr. Dartmouth. And several DHS students recently competed in the state DECA competition in Boston. Many of our students were recognized for their hard work, and 3 are moving on to the international competition in April, which will be held in Atlanta, Georgia. So congratulations to all of those students, as well as their advisor, Ms. Kane. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Any
Thank
questions
you.
or comments?
Good job with the DECA kids. And
Thank
Mr.
you very
Dartmouth.
much. All right, so next let's take up, we have 1 item on our consent agenda. Let's go ahead and take that up because we're still not yet at 6:45. We have a DHS request for permission to participate in the Robotics East Super Regional Championships in Scranton, Pennsylvania from March 16th to March 18th.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Mr. Oliver. Any discussion, questions, comments?
Good luck.
Nope, I would agree. Good luck to them. It sounds like a great trip. So, hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right, we're just tearing through our agenda here. So, we can't talk about the budget before we have the public hearing, and I don't want to do the spotlights on kids yet because I don't want to rush them through that. I'd like them to have the time to do what they have planned. So why don't we take up the issue of school choice? We last week we postponed that vote because Mr. Oliver was not here, and we wanted to have the full committee present in order to finish our discussion and to vote to participate. So I will open it up for questions, comments. I know you got some information from, I think, Mr. Kiley and Dr. Gifford about, and Ms. Roy, about enrollment trends, class enrollment. Do you guys have any questions or comments? Mr. Oliver.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. So I had the opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting. Just a couple of, and I appreciate the trend for enrollment. I know that it's been brought to my attention that there's some concern and nervousness with school choice surrounding the high school, the unknown of the high school schedule. And I was just wondering, Dr. Gifford, if you could just provide the committee or myself with some reassurances that based on our numbers and based on the upcoming schedule change, that we're not going to see any, outrageous or astronomical class size numbers at the high school.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Yes, I'll just, a couple of things. We passed out to the committee again tonight, just in case you didn't have a paper copy of the documents that we gave you last week to look at what we're seeing right now as far as our class sizes with the number of students that enroll under school choice might be in. And as you could see by those papers, some classes that might be 24, we might have one student, 23, maybe 3, et cetera. But to your point, so that's just data from this year. To your point, traditionally, and you have the trends over the last, oh my goodness, many, many years, the number of students that are transferring not from Dartmouth Middle School into the high school has been anywhere up to 80, 85 students, which still leaves us capacity at the high school from years past. So even with the, right now we have 21 in grade 9 students that enrolled into school. We were still down 68 students from, when I say that, I mean from students that could have enrolled in Dartmouth High School from the 8th grade. Word has it this year we have another 15 additional going to voc, even over above the normal.
In addition from last year.
Yes. So you can see that trend. We have to combat that in some way. So what I can assure you as that with the high school administration, we're working in close contact with them. Their course selection, as you just heard our student rep say, has taken place. We were hoping to have a little bit more data tonight, but it takes some time to shake that out. So we will be watching closely those class sizes, and if something were to be looking amiss, we would certainly adjust for that. And even though we could approve the number of students, we certainly could limit that based on if we saw some trouble spots happening. So I could assure you of that.
I mean, I think it's important. I know the town doesn't have, the audience doesn't have this data, but, I mean, if you look at our VOC enrollment numbers, right, there's 128 more students going to VOC now than there were in 2008. My understanding, Mr. Kiley, it's several $100,000 in additional funding that the town has to provide for VOC next year out of the budget.
Right.
And it's, I mean, it's a big hit to our budget, and it's, I know everyone says we need to compete, but it's hard to compete when they get, I think, like $17,000 a year per student, somewhere in that ballpark, and we get about 11 or 12, right? So it's tough for us. We're doing our best. We have new pathways, and they're really great things at the high school, but it's been a big hit to the budget.
Right. And I would like to point out on your, again, it's from the last week, the budget presentation, just some of those things. We're already funding the smaller items. We went slow because we wanted to see the program increase, the funding come in. But for example, we used a lot of money for this year for our professional development, that personalized and blended learning that we've been working with a consultant at our middle and high school. Great feedback from that. I was just at a session last week, visited some of the classrooms doing that. The teachers love it. They love the capacity that they're building, and we plan on continuing that work with the consultant next year. Again, this is, some of these funds that we use this for. We were able to fund a strength and conditioning coach for the high school, have a really good program there. The elementary I-STEM stipends is coming out of the school choice money. And as you know, some of the things we talked about with the budget, which we can certainly answer more questions when we talk about the budget later, the media center renovations, innovation lab, and the one-to-one computing initiatives that we're looking at, bigger things. So this, as of the end of this year, it's $450,000 to our good, and with another, which we would propose another 30 students by the end of next year, all told, that's $900,000. That's a lot of programs that we are able to fund, things that we just can't do otherwise. So,
Other questions, comments? Go ahead, Chris.
I'll just finish up by saying, I know that, there's, school choice doesn't go without controversy to some extent. I think we're doing the best we can, and I think school choice is definitely to our advantage at this point, especially with Dr. Gifford sharing that we just lost an additional 15 students. The revenue has to come from somewhere, even though this is only, say, a third of what we're spending to educate our students that go to Voc. I think that based on all the things that we're doing with school choice funds, whether it's the one-to-one initiative, whether it's the strength and conditioning coach, it's money in our pockets, and I think it overall serves the students of Dartmouth extremely well.
Other comments, questions?
Excuse me, I just want to say, I think we're fortunate enough to be able to do this, to get the extra expenditure, extra money for different expenditures. And I think also we're bringing in other children into the system, and they have diverse needs that can be added to what we're doing. So I think it's a plus plus.
Same row, Mr. Nunes, any comments?
I think some of my, it was brought up the point about what Chris just brought up with the new schedule, but with that, assurance that certainly is part of the equation, and that, how can you, we just can't fund all of these these initiatives, and it would be silly to really not support that extra funding, since we have the space.
Yeah.
Right, and I mean, the data shows from 2008, overall, we're down 200 students, even with the 60 school choice students counted in that. And our staff levels have essentially remained the same over that time period. So we do have capacity. There are classes here or there that are bigger, but those always happen regardless of school choice. It's a reflection of student scheduling choices and how we move our staff, and where we have the bigger classes and where we have the smaller classes.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a result of school choice.
In the data that we did receive, I was actually I'm surprised, I guess, to actually see the data where it, in many of those cases, it really wasn't reflective of. There were no students that in those classes, the higher number classes, a few cases, but overall, it was a very small percentage. So that was, thank you for that data.
Good. Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve school choice or vote to participate for the next school year.
I'll make a motion that Dartmouth Public Schools is a school choice district for the 2018-2019 school year.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Oliver, a second by Dr. Karafotis. Any further discussion? Mr. Nunes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we need to put a number as to how many we're going to accept? Dr. Gifford?
Yeah, we're recommending the 30 again.
Okay, all right.
But that, I don't think that goes in the motion. It's
No, it
just a
doesn't have to go in the motion.
participate or
Okay.
not.
That's what
All right.
we'll be striving for.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
Right. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Me.
All right, so we have a 4-1 with Mr. Nunes voting in the negative.
Thank you.
I'm kind of drawing this out, watching my clock, and we've now hit 6:45.
Exactly.
So at this point in time, we will open the public hearing for the proposed fiscal 19 year school budget. Again, if you'd like to comment on the budget, or if you have a question, you can step up to the microphone and introduce yourself, tell us your name, and then state your concern or your question. Wait, we have to make sure that everyone has a chance to participate. All right, so hearing no comments, I will close the public hearing for the fiscal 19 school budget, and we'll move next into our presentations. I understand that our Cushman presentation is going to come first, so the little ones that are here presenting will be able to go home. So Ms. McHenry is going to start us off. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to invite some of our littlest learners here to the school committee meeting. They're very excited, so I'm going to quickly get through my part so they can come up and be the center of attention. So this evening, we're going to focus on 3 areas at the Cushman School. The first one being the kindergartners' writers workshop. then moving on to our theme of kindness matters, and lastly, talking about what we call a Cushman calming moment. So a little bit about writing at the kindergarten level. Kindergarten students, like all of our K-12 students, write narratives, arguments, and informational texts. Teaching in a workshop model allows us to celebrate developmentally rich instruction within our kindergarten classrooms and allows us to honor the approximations our students make, helps to nudge them into things that are a little bit hard, and to keep their learning stance high and full of enthusiasm. Teachers confer and provide targeted feedback so that students expand their knowledge and increase their skills. We strive to create an environment that allows risk-taking, expects effort, nurtures innovation, and celebrates independence. Writing Workshop emphasizes the importance of and provides time for writers to engage in authentic talk about what they are writing. We have students write pieces that have an authentic purpose for a targeted audience. So we start our school year in kindergarten with what we call narrative writing. We aim to introduce students to Writer's Workshop by telling them that they are an author. We help them think of a story, draw it, and then do their best approximation of writing. In no time, students begin to use letters as well as pictures. We ask them to say more. We intentionally teach them to stretch out their words so that they can hear individual sounds and write their letters down. Plan stories by talking first. Write sentences, leave space, add punctuation, dialogue with speech bubbles, revise and edit, and use a checklist. And I remind you, this is kindergarten. Informational. We move on to informational writing in the middle of the year, and under this umbrella, there are many types. How-to procedural writing is especially appropriate for kindergartners. How-to writing weaves together drawing with labels and writing. So the students are instructed to break each procedure up into steps and act out or envision the first step, then record it, act out and envision the second step, and then record it again. Once they reach the end of detailing each step, they reread it with clarity, often asking a partner to act it out as they read it. And again, they use a checklist. And lastly, during the third trimester, we introduce opinion writing. This unit begins by asking students to look at the world around them in new ways, noticing some things that may need to be changed. They walk around the school searching for things that could be better, and they're not afraid to tell me, too. And return to the classroom to write signs, poems, and songs, all designed to tell others about the problem. Next, we shift their attention to include problems that they notice in our neighborhood and then at home. Writers learn that they need to ask, who can help me fix this problem? They will learn that if they want to be really convincing, they need to add reasons to their letters. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to some of our students who will be sharing the how-to informational writing with you. So if I could invite Addison, Maddie, Michael, and Chloe up to the front.
Audrey, yeah.
Oh, she has a microphone. Okay, good.
Oh, and Tracy, too.
So cute.
I love it.
Hi, my name's Addison. I'll be reading How to Make Pizza.
Can you hear her okay?
I can.
Put the sauce on the dough. Put the cheese on the dough. Put them in the oven. Be careful, it's hot. Take them out of the oven. Eat them, but they might be warm.
At the end, eat them, but they might be warm. Now you've made us all hungry. Thank you. Maddie?
Hi, I'm Maddie, and I'm going to read How to Play Basketball. basketball.
Let's get you right up front so everyone
And
see.
can you use your outside voice, not your school voice? Your best outside voice.
Run to offense, don't run too fast. Shoot the ball, don't shoot too high.
I think the Celtics could use
If someone blocks you, pass to a teammate. That person will pass to another teammate. That person shoots and we win.
that person shoots and we win. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael and I'm reading How to Play Basketball. In basketball, there's two teams and there's two baskets, and they have to get it in the basket. You have to make a shot in the basket. Then you have to say your teammate's name. Then you are going to pass it to your teammate and say pass. When someone passes to you, you have to catch it. When someone passes to you and catch it, you take a shot. If you do not get a shot, you get ready in the position, then you get under the basket.
Thank you. Now
Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm going to be reading How to Walk a Dog. Put a leash on the dog. Make sure the leash is on tight so he can't run away. Walk your dog outside. If he starts to run away, grab the leash as soon as he runs away. Don't fall. Continue your walk. Make sure it doesn't happen again.
Thank you. Thank you, boys and girls. So now we're hungry and we want to play basketball, and then we know how to walk a dog. So thank you. All right, moving on to our second topic this evening is this year our students have had multiple opportunities to connect with our community and spread the theme of kindness matters. So that was a theme that started at the administration meeting over the summer, and then is carrying through our school year at the Cushman School. So a couple of pictures there show that in the fall, Mrs. Spicer's pre-K class and Mrs. Festori's kindergarten class worked together to make cards for little ones that might need to visit St. Luke's emergency room over the holidays. Along with that, we also sponsored a canned good drive during the holidays to benefit the Council on Aging's food pantry. Continuing in December, Mrs. Sylvia's kindergarten class held a pajama drive to assist families at a women's shelter. We also worked with the Dartmouth Veterans Board to make holiday cards for our troops in Afghanistan. And lastly, Cushman took the show on the road, and for the first time ever, our preschoolers traveled down to the Council on Aging to put on a holiday show for the members there, so that was a great time. Specifically for February and March, we're calling them our Cushman Months of Kindness. So lots of things going around in the school. We invited students to complete random acts of kindness, both in the school setting as well as at home with their families and with their community. So they were each given a checklist, so the sample is there. This one was done in the school. A different one went home for families. And it gave them lots of different ideas of ways that they can be kind and also spread kindness in their community. Once they completed the checklist, they received a heart, so that's what you see in the picture, and these two little ones were the first ones to bring them back, and they got hearts on our tree of kindness. So now if you visit Cushman School, it's filled with hearts. Continuing with this theme, our students also made posters for the community. The picture here shows that a few of our students shared a poster with an administrator at the Quinn School, and we'll do more of that this evening. So we did that. We also are in the process of making cards and letters to our local EMS, fire, and police. And then throughout the school, if you visit Cushman, displayed messages of kindness are throughout the school. So at this time, I would like to call up Austin Rousseau, who is my little friend who every day comes to visit me to give me the news on how many hearts we have and how many coins. So he's going to share with you how he got his heart with his name on it. So come right up here, Austin, and nice and loud in your loudest voice. Tell our friends, how did you earn your heart on our tree of kindness?
I smiled for friends. I gave high fives. I invited a new friend to play.
So those are some of our. So if I could have an administrator from DeMello and Potter just raise your hand for Austin. He's going to come deliver some of our posters. We were able to personally deliver to Quinn because a mom happened to come, so it was easier to do. But Austin's going to come deliver for DeMello and Potter. So do you see? Can you go deliver those posters to them? Got to grab them. Okay. Thank you, Austin. Okay. Go ahead. See, right there, Mrs. Paveo, right there in the front. See with Maddie, and then right behind her.
So sweet.
You can give her the other one. Yeah. There you go.
He's like, I'm not so sure.
Can you tell them what's inside the big red crayon?
All the coins for good things people have done.
Are in the crayon, right? Is it
Yeah.
almost filled?
Well, it's already filled.
He tells me every morning. Thank you, Austin.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
So sweet.
All right.
Holding him back.
He's been very excited for a while now to come in and share. So lastly, we're going to talk about what we call a Cushman calming moment. So every morning during our morning announcements, we do our typical Pledge of Allegiance. We talk about whose birthday it is. There's a message of kindness. But we also started with these calming moments. So it kind of came about as a result of some of our PBIS and how can we add to what's already happening. So we added this calming moment where kids can do some deep breathing and exercises to start their morning. So again, I'm going to call up two volunteers to model for you. So if I could have Caliana and Julia. So Caliana's in kindergarten, Julia is in preschool. All right, I'm going to have you guys stand in front of me, okay, and face them. There you go. So, all right, so I'm going to start, and then you can show them what it looks like. And feel free to join us. We might all need a Cushman calming moment to get us ready for this snow. So here we go, girls. We call it the high five breathing. So we get our hand out like this. We use our pointer finger Are they with me? I hope. I can
yes.
see. All right. So here we go, girls. We're going to take a deep breath in 5 times. Now another one. One more. And one more. Excellent. We call that our high five breathing. Other days we might do what's called our balloon breathing. So we tell the students that it's like blowing up a balloon. So we start with our hands by our sides, and we're going to blow up that balloon, girls. Here we go. Let's take a deep breath in. Now let out that breath or that balloon, and they wiggle it in front of them. Let's do it one more time. Take a deep breath in, and then wiggle that balloon in front of you. Great job. Now we also do a little stretch in the morning. So girls, let's do our morning stretch, our mountain stretch, but we're not reaching out for the sun tonight, but let's pretend we're reaching for those stars. Oh, do a deep stretch. Oh, great job. And thank you for the audience members who did it along with us. Thank you. Thank you, girls, very much. So that was just something that we were going to do once a week, but the kids loved it so much they wanted it 5 days a week, along with the teachers as well. And I've even heard from some parents. One example was I got a picture of their child doing the high five breathing on their couch because they had gotten into a little quarrel with their sibling and said to their parent, "I need to sit on the couch and do my my high five breathing." So it's transferring and generalizing to other areas, which is exactly what we're hoping for. It's just a tool for them in their tool belt. So again, I think with our deep breathing, let me just show you one more picture of the students doing that. But that's our presentation. So thank you to all the parents who allowed their little ones to stay up a little extra longer tonight. So thank you, and the staff who also attended. But I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Yeah, I just wish all the people who came to our meetings were as fun. They were great. They were not, there's nothing wrong with people who are here, but they were extra special. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Highlight of the meeting.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So sweet.
I don't have any questions, but it's wonderful the things you're doing with our kindergarten, preschool students. Great job, and the kids are really happy with what's going on. And when you walk into your school, it's bright and welcoming, and the kindness posters are around, so it's a wonderful beginning for their school experience. And congratulations to you and your staff.
Thank you. Yes, great staff.
Mr. Oliver?
I'll just say that it's one thing to hear about what's going on in the schools, but it takes it to a whole new level when you're actually able to see what's happening in the students' day-to-day routines. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, boys and girls, you did such a great job. Can take tomorrow off. How's that?
I'll also say, for any of our, the parents and our littlest volunteers who are here, obviously you can feel free to go at this point. If you need to get home and have dinner, go to bed. But while maybe a few people are stepping out, we'll transition over to our presentation for DeMello, and we'll get that set up over there while everyone's leaving. Ms. Paveo going to do the presentation?
Yeah. So cute. I think she's doing
Oh my
wild
gosh.
transition here.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. I know. It's good. Well, we haven't gotten to the. What else? Wait, no, that's it.
Yeah.
Because I just know it's fabulous. Yeah, yeah.
That's the great thing about having everything in the cloud. It's great about having everything in the cloud. If you forget something, you just gotta log in and get it.
Yeah, I know, I'm nervous about that. I told John, I said, make sure you draw some water. That's the biggest thing, really, it really is. I had plenty of food, and then of course, again, he went scalloping again. I put more scallops up Saturday. That's my fear. If we, I would have to find somebody.
She
with
just
a-
had to log in.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Paveo. Got over that momentary panic when it wasn't there. She had to log in and
I
find it.
transitioned my brain from parent to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, anyway, so it's okay. Yeah.
You can take the kids off.
Got that?
Yep, we're all ready to go.
Thank you. And we're here tonight to talk a little bit about our PBIS program, which you've heard us speak about before. And we'll go through, you'll see a few changes that have happened. We've called it our PBIS reboot. And just as a review of what the PBIS program is, you know that we implemented PBIS in the district several years ago. It was during the 11-12 school year that we actually began working with the May Institute, and steadily our program has grown over the year. And this is just a review for you of sort of the framework of what PBIS is. And as we have continued to grow our program, everything we do in regards to PBIS aligns with these concepts. And we've had a consistent framework with which we've taught, intervened, and recognized our student behavior. But like many things, over several years, we need to shake things up and bring a renewed sense of excitement to PBIS. I'm extremely grateful to Mrs. Kouri and to the members of the PBIS Tier 1 team who have worked tirelessly to reboot our PBIS system over this year. And one of the biggest changes to the program that they made was really to simplify our core values. And we're going to go through what our 3 core values are, but rather than hear me talk to you about them, I brought some 5th grade friends who are going to be telling you a little bit about our core values. So I'm going to ask first to have Sophia come up, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about what it means to be respectful at DeMello School.
Being respectful means to be considerate to others and yourself. Being respectful in the library means to use a quiet voice and to take care of your resources. Being respectful in your classroom also means to wait your turn to speak and to listen to your classmates when they are speaking. We even have expectations for respectful behavior in the bathroom. Having respect in the bathroom means respecting people's privacy. Also, after you flush, make sure you wash your hands. All in all, if you are unsure what it means to be respectful, just follow the golden rule, which is to treat others how you want to be treated.
You'll see we have a matrix that hangs all over DeMello School, which reminds kids when they're in different places what our expectations are. So Rafaela is going to come talk to you a little bit about what it means to be responsible at DeMello School.
Responsibility means making good choices and doing the things you are supposed to do. Being responsible is after playing on the playground, you return your supplies that you played with and put them in the same spot you found them in. Being responsible on the bus is looking forward, not putting your legs in the aisle, and staying quiet so that the bus driver can keep us safe. Overall, a responsible student follows our school expectations and gives us full effort in class.
Jade is going to come talk a little bit about what it means to be safe at DeMello School.
At DeMello School, there are many ways we are safe. One way is that we are safe in the hallways. We are safe in the hallways by walking and respecting other space. We are also safe in the cafeteria. In our cafeteria, we are safe by not getting up unless the lunch monitors tell us to get up. Also, we are safe by carrying our trays with 2 hands so that we don't drop our trays. Lastly, we are very safe in our classrooms. In other words, we don't throw our supplies or take other supplies. We also respect other space and always walk at indoor recess, not run. Overall, the best way to make a safe school is to include others and to be kind.
So similar to Mrs. McHenry, when we get on our announcements in the morning, we talk about mindful moments, and we take the opportunity every month to highlight one of our core values and talk a little bit to remind students each morning about a way that they can go about their day to show respect and responsibility and kindness to other people.
But the best way to show our kids that we are watching is to remind them, we have many different ways that we remind them that we are focusing on the positive, and we want to recognize kids for doing the right thing. So I have Audrey Kircher here, who is going to come up and talk to you a little bit about the ways that the students at DeMello School are being recognized. Come on up, Audrey.
Hi, my name is Audrey Kircher, and I was a leader of the pack in Mr. Finn Clark's class in February. Being a leader of the pack is just one of the many ways that the students at Joseph DeMello Elementary are recognized for being respectful, responsible, and safe. To be a leader of the pack, you have to earn copy and good slips. You get these slips by being respectful, responsible, and safe. Always turning your work in on time and being respectful to all of your classmates are some ways that you can be respectful, responsible, and safe. At the end of the week, either Miss Paveo or Miss Korea comes around to each classroom and picks a copy and good slip. If you get picked, you are the leader of the pack for the following week in your class. I also got to go to Fun Zone. Fun Zone is when kids who have earned a copy and good slip almost every day in the month get to go and have a half hour of fun. At Fun Zone, we get to do things like Just Dance and volleyball. There are also copy and good coins. These are small coins that you can get from any teacher that sees you or your class acting respectful, responsible, or safe. You can get these coins from every teacher except for your own homeroom teacher. With these coins in your homeroom, you can pick a goal for how many coins you have to earn before you get to have a fun Friday. So far in my class, we have earned 2 fun Fridays. We got an extra recess, and we also got to watch a movie. The possibilities of rewards are endless. The final way that kids are recognized for their behavior is by Student of the Month. Student of the Month comes at the end of each month. Each teacher picks one student from their class to be the Student of the Month. At the assembly for this, the kids who got chosen from each class get called up one by one. Each teacher goes up to, and they share why they picked that student to be the Student of the Month in their class. All of these encouragements make DeMello School a safer and better environment for all of the students who work hard and learn together with respect for each other. That is how the students at Joseph DeMello are recognized for being respectful, responsible, and safe.
Thank you, Audrey. And in the climate that we live in, we really want to emphasize to our students that the best way to make a safe school is to have a school that's inclusive and kind. That those are the things that all of us can do. We only are in control of ourselves when we talk to the kids about making good choices. We can't control others, but we can control our own. And if we were all to go out and act in an inclusive and kind way, that DeMello School would be a very safe place as it is, and a place that we all grow and thrive. So the last thing that we would like to leave you with is our last sort of thing that we do to highlight our core value is that we have a core value assembly at the end of every month, where we review what the core value of the month was, ways that we saw students exemplifying that core value, and we have had sort of a unintended mascot, if you will, who has become part of all of our end of the month rallies. We're going to share with you her debut performance, and that's, I think, the best way that I could probably wrap up this performance. So Mrs. Kouri is going to hit that link. Hopefully we can get the sound, and you can meet our PBIS diva as only she can do it. We have sound there, Mrs. Kouri. Maybe not.
Jonathan is here.
Looks pretty funny.
This is not. This is not.
No, that's what we need to do.
Oh.
So I think you can see the kids have a lot of fun, and as I mentioned before, I will be eternally grateful to my Tier 1 team because that is what they will do for kids, and that's really what it's all about, is creating safe, inclusive, kind schools for our kids. So thank you very much. If any of you have any questions for the kids or for
Questions, comments?
Just a great presentation, thank you.
So I have some, I noticed, if you could speak to this, 'cause I thought it was wonderful, if I'm correct, on the back of some of the coins that come home, the teachers' initials are on there. So is there like an incentive for?
There is. So every Friday, Mrs. Kouri and I say it's the highlight of our week. We get to go out into the world and just visit kids and just sort of see what they're working on, and without any agenda other than to just see how things are going in DeMello School. And we are able to pick a Caught Being Good slip from each classroom, but we also collect the coins that the kids have earned throughout the week, and we put them in a big bucket, and when we we announce all of our leaders of the pack for the following week over the intercom. We also draw a coin, and the teacher who has given out that coin gets a little certificate and a little appreciation to Dunkin' Donuts from Mrs. Kouri and myself. And you know, we always talk about, it's really about recognizing positive behavior. And when we ask teachers to do things like go out of their way to recognize kids, we want to make sure that they know that we're recognizing what they're doing as well. So.
Yeah, I thought that was wonderful. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you.
job.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Great job.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Nice job, girls.
So we'll also tell our DeMello parents the same thing I told our Cushman parents. If you'd like to go home and eat dinner, get ready for bed, all those fun things, feel free to take a step out. And with that, we can call our high school team up and they can get their slideshow all ready and in this transition period. Mr. Tebow, and I don't know if you're bringing anyone with you or they're going to sit back in the audience. Mr. Tebow, you're going to take us through the new program of studies and course changes going on at the high school.
I am, and unfortunately, I come at the end of a couple of tough acts to follow, so I'm sure it won't be nearly as entertaining. I'd just like to thank the committee for the opportunity to discuss some of the changes that we're making over at Dartmouth High School. And I'd like to thank the administrative team who's here today, especially Ms. Xavier and Ms. Martin, who could not be with us, and the lead teachers, because That's who, did the bulk of the work here with respect to some of our changes that I'll talk about. Before I get into the changes themselves, I'd like to talk a little bit about why, because they're not changes just for change's sake, but they're changes that really move the school in the direction that the district's vision for what our high school should be. Specifically, some goals that we had when we were reimagining the program of studies. We wanted to make sure that it reflected more voice and choice for students, that students had an opportunity to have more choice in choosing their coursework, but also we also wanted to make it so that there was more relevance for them, so that they could understand why courses progress in a certain manner, and what it kind of all leads to. And so you'll see some of that when we talk about our pathways in a second. We also wanted to make the program of studies a document that parents and students used when they select their courses. We didn't want students to just show up and select any random courses, or we wanted them to see more in terms of, rather than see them as standalone electives, why they were structured the way they were. And so those were kind of our big goals with respect to the changes that we made in the program studies. And you'll see, I think you'll see that we've taken some major steps forward towards achieving those goals. So what exactly is new in the program of studies? First, and I know this is on the agenda for a little bit later, but the newly proposed graduation and credit requirements are part of the program of studies. As we transition to a new schedule, we recognize that we're going to have to make some changes in terms of what students are required to take and earn in order to graduate. We also wanted to provide some clear language around clear language and streamlined access to our most rigorous courses. In the past, in the program of studies, there were some descriptions in terms of, what constitutes an honors course, an AP course, and a college and career readiness course. And then within that program of studies, each department put their own little spin on it. So there was a lot of redundancy, and it wasn't quite as clear as what we felt it could be. And so the other part of that was we wanted to remove barriers to those courses and encourage kids to stretch themselves and take the most rigorous coursework possible. We wanted to build some pathways of study for students, again, so that they understood where this all kind of goes, that it's not just, something you do for 4 years and then figure out what you're going to do after that. We want to build towards that. And then finally, the redesign and reimagining of our health and physical education course offerings was another major change in our program of studies for this coming year. So first, with respect to the adjustment to the credits necessary for graduation, under a block schedule, students over the course of 4 years could potentially have earned 32 credits, and they were required to earn 28 in order to graduate. So basically what we did is we just scaled it back by the number of years that they would have been in the block schedule versus our new 7-period schedule that will be implemented next year. So our senior class next year, the class of 2019, will have to earn 27 credits to graduate. Again, we didn't change what they're required to in terms of specific courses. What we simply did was say you need to earn 1 less elective credit in order to graduate. So that number went from 28 to 27. Also, just to clarify, because you'll see the reimagination of our phys ed and health, we won't be offering phys ed and health courses because we're integrating the health curriculum with the PE curriculum into wellness classes, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we just clarified for students that any wellness course will fulfill that PE or health requirement for the class of 2019. Class of 2020 is pretty much the same thing, except that now it would be 2 less credits because they would have only 2 years in the block schedule. And then class of 2021 would actually be 3 less credits, so we're down to 25 necessary for graduation. And then, of course, with our incoming freshmen, it would be 24. And again, with our incoming freshmen, that is a class that will have to meet some different graduation requirements, and I think I'll talk about that a little bit later on. in terms of what those changes are. In the program of studies, we really streamlined the description of the course levels. We wanted to make the language more can-do and more encouraging to students by shifting the focus from, you have to have strong innate ability in certain subjects and strong aptitude in certain, we want to really make it focus on the effort, student effort and persistence in meeting challenging tasks. And really, that's what this language kind of reflects. We want them to understand that our college and career readiness level courses are rigorous, but as you move up, each level of course is more rigorous than the one before it. But again, we want the focus to be here on effort and persistence in meeting challenging tasks. We don't want students to feel like, well, I've never taken an honors class, so that's not for me. We're trying to really disband that myth of some kids are honors kids and some kids aren't. And we're working hard to do that, and we thought this was an opportunity to kind of push that message. And so this language here, it comes right out of our program of studies, which is up on our website under the guidance side tab. So it can be accessible to anyone who wants to look it over. But again, it reflects what I kind of just talked about. Okay, so more on the pathways, because this is I would say this is probably the biggest change in the program of studies and the one that the most work went into. So just for folks who might not, be aware what a pathway is just, it's a coherent progression of coursework in a particular area that leads to some either credential or some kind of culminating capstone in that pathway. And really what it certifies is if a student has completed a pathway, it certifies that they are college and or career ready in that area. So either they'll continue to study if they choose to major in that area, or perhaps they enter right into the workforce in an entry-level position in that area. And again, just to take us quickly through some of the pathways that we created this year, under the Science, Technology, and Engineering Department, we have a number of different pathways, ranging from the biotech pathway, which obviously goes right along with the grant that we received earlier this school year, where we'll be updating our biotech labs. Dr. Banks really led the charge in that area, but that's one of our pathways, is the biotech pathway. We also have a number of engineering and architectural pathways as well. And then we have our robotics engineering pathway. And then finally, under the technology piece of this kind of umbrella is our TV media production pathway. And again, it's just about our, bringing clarity for students in terms of what the recommended progression of courses are in a particular area. The way we framed it for students during the presentation was that, these are not, you're not signing up for all 4 years. If you take Biotech 1 and suddenly decide, you know what, this wasn't quite what I had in mind, I think engineering is more for me, certainly a student would have that option the next year to try an engineering course, or to switch pathways if you would. Because we recognize that's part of what high school is about, right, is exploring what we're passionate about and figuring that out. So those would be the science, technology, and engineering pathways. We also did this work in our business and computer science department. So we have 3 business and innovation pathways. And again, our students always do extremely well at DECA, and it's an important part of our community. And so these pathways here, Mrs. Kane and I kind of worked together to articulate a couple of different pathways. Again, a lot of these elective courses we had in existence, but they weren't clearly articulated in terms of a progression, and they weren't really, the connection between the coursework and a career field maybe wasn't as clear. So we have the finance and accounting pathway, we have a marketing pathway, and then we have an entrepreneurship pathway, which culminates in a new course that Ms. Kane recommended for next year. It's called the Big Green Product Pitch, and it's really just meant to be a culminating course, a capstone course, if you will, in that pathway, and it's going to be styled after the Shark Tank show. So students will be you know, doing market research, coming up and building a prototype. And again, it ties into our grant. Students will be using our 3D printers and the innovation lab that we're looking to create over the summer for next year. So again, we have a lot of different initiatives, but they're all tied together to a broader vision. And that's what the changes for the program of studies are really all about this year. In computer science, we have 4 different pathways, and again, a lot of these courses were already in existence. It was a matter of kind of bringing them together and making them coherent, but we have the mobile application development pathway, we have the programming and game development pathway, web design pathway, and then new, and a number of these courses are new or will be new next year, we have the digital forensics and cybersecurity pathway. So again, we're looking to be cutting edge. We're looking to give students an opportunity to build the skills they need to be successful in the 21st century, you know, namely the communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and all of those really tie into the pathways that we've developed for next year. And then finally, art, the unified arts. And again, we've had an outstanding arts program at Dartmouth High School for a number of years. So this is probably not, you know, new, but again, the articulation, the clarity with which the courses are now laid out, I think is a little bit different. For our students who are really passionate about art, they want to continue to study art off at college. That's the portfolio prep pathway where they're really building a portfolio that they'll need for the college admissions process, and it will culminate in an advanced placement art class. But we recognize there are some students who are still passionate about art, but maybe they're not going to look to continue that at college or the next level. So we have a number of other art pathways as well for them. We have the fashion and jewelry design pathway, as well as the digital art pathway. And then finally, it falls under the Unified Arts pathway. It's our early childhood education pathway, where we have a very strong partnership with BCC already in place, where students who complete that work, not only do they get out into our elementary schools and work with our preschool students, but they also end up with the credential at the end through BCC, which would allow them to enter right into the workforce in early ed and care. So those are our pathways, and again, I think there's 16 when I counted, 16 pathways, so a lot of work went into that this fall and into the early winter here to get those up and running. And then finally, the rebranding of health and PE. Again, this one's really about student choice. Currently, you know, you take a phys ed class and you're likely to do a range of activities. But at the high school level, what we find is that when students have an opportunity to choose what particular activity they're in, whether it be dance or whether it be weightlifting or something as simple as walking, you get more participation as opposed to just one kind of, you know, roll out the balls and let's figure out what we're going to do today. We don't. The health and PE department wanted to shift away from that. They wanted to be able to differentiate courses and give students those choices so that they could sign up for specific activities that they wanted to engage in. So gone will be health and PE. Our courses will be referred to as wellness courses, and it's really integrating the health curriculum with physical education curriculum. They go hand in hand, obviously. You know, it's hard to be healthy or well if you're not physically active, and so it just makes a lot of sense. And again, I want to give a lot of credit to Mark Gaffney, our lead health and PE teacher, because he was very excited when we engaged him in conversation around this work, and he really took the ball and ran with it. And so in the program of studies, it's you know, every 9th grader and 10th grader will take wellness green and wellness white, and that is heavy on the health curriculum, but there will be some physical education worked in there as well. But then after that, once you get to be a junior and a senior, really the options are yours, from dance to weightlifting to walking for life fitness, I think is the name of the course. There's a number of different courses. So I know our phys ed and health teachers are excited about it. I think our students are as well, and I'm really looking forward to it. So moving DHS forward, again, all of these changes support and leverage other important initiatives that are going on at the high school and that are part of our school improvement plan. As I mentioned, a number of these programs will be enhanced by the investment that we got from the state that we're very thankful for with the grant that we received this fall. The equipment's starting to come in. It's been purchased, so we're excited about that. Again, as I said, a lot of the changes we've made will allow our students to focus on developing those 21st century skills that we want to see. And then finally, I really think that the language in the program of studies, the removing of barriers, is really going to push students to stretch themselves, even if that's with taking a single honors course next year because they've never tried that before. That was really one of the essential messages that we tried to push, was to challenge yourself, take the most rigorous coursework available to you, and if you put in the effort and persevere, you'll be successful. With that, I will answer any questions.
So this is the third time that I've seen your presentation. It gets better. No, it's been really well received. I've heard a lot of, because I have an 8th grader and a freshman, and now this is time 3, which it's been great. It's been really well received in the community. I've heard a lot of good feedback. I'll take my chair's prerogative because I actually have a couple questions, because I've gone through the course selection twice with both of my kids now, or we're working on with 8th grader. There are a couple of things that aren't clear to me, so they might not be clear to other people. So my youngest is a class of 2022, so he's taking 2 credits of wellness, which I get.
Over 4 years,
Correct, right. But all of the other classes have 2 credits of PE and a half credit of health.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to take an extra semester then of a wellness/PE, because they have to have 2.5 credits.
So
That's what's not clear to me, right?
Sure.
Because it is two credits of PE and a half credit of health for 2021, 2019, and 2020.
Correct. So now you've confused me. No, so you're asking about your child who's coming in as a freshman.
No, I'm asking about the class of 19, 20, and 21,
Okay,
because they
thank
have
you.
2 of PE and they have a half credit of health.
Correct.
Which would be a half credit more than the incoming freshman class.
That is correct.
Okay. Why is that?
So
I only ask because we're already giving, you know what I mean, they're losing an elective.
Right.
So I was just curious as to why we didn't keep it as 2 credits overall for them to allow them to take potentially something else.
So the main reason is because we felt that changing, when you publish graduation requirements, you're doing it 4 years out, right? So I didn't feel very good about saying to any existing classes, we're just kidding, these graduation requirements that were presented to you last year or 2 years or 3 years ago are now changing. That's why the only thing we changed was the additional electives, the number of additional electives that they would have to earn to graduate. That was the reason for it. And then the other thing I would say is one of the things that folks should know is that the credits they're required to graduate are the minimums. They have an opportunity to take 4 additional electives that aren't required of them to pass necessarily, but so there is still room for electives.
Right, I guess the reason why I ask is because my oldest is in the class of 2021, and that class, and maybe some of the other classes, will now have to double up on a wellness, because they all basically have a half credit at the end of their freshman year, so they'll need to end up with 2 credits in 3 years, or 2 years, or right, sort of prorating out. And so you end up, they'll have to take 2 wellness classes in one of the years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other thing I think that, again, I think this is great, that might be helpful to parents is, for some of the AP classes, it might be helpful to outline sort of the prerequisites. Because for AP history, right, you take that in lieu of your AP US history, for example. You can take that your sophomore year in lieu of your US history. But for AP Bio, as an example, you need to take your freshman bio before you take your AP Bio. And if you don't know that, that might not be clear to parents. And so it might be helpful. That's never been in there, so that's not a change. I've just noticed it as a parent now. It might be helpful, I think, to outline for parents, right? Because we have the sequencing for some of the other classes now. That might be helpful for those APs if you've got to take something before going into that AP to outline that for people. So that's just sort of my experience in trying to navigate and figuring it out. But I mean, I think the changes have been great, and the kids are really excited about it. Other questions, comments?
Excuse me, I just have a comment. I have a granddaughter going in, so I haven't looked at it as closely as Shannon. So, but I'm just very pleased to see this taking off and the work that's gone into these pathways. I think it's very exciting, and I like the idea, the comment you made about getting all kids to look at, maybe I can do that. You know, before everything was little compartments, that was for these kids and those kids. I think the whole issue of inclusion is really important, and to get them to go a little bit beyond, I think is an excellent mindset for them to have as they go through their high school experience and life. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to echo my colleague Dr. Karafotis' comments in regards to, I'm really excited about the pathways and just looking through this and just seeing how this new schedule is. Obviously, there's been a lot of work put into this at the administration level, at the teacher level, right across the board. So I am really looking forward to seeing the fruits of our labor as to how this takes off and where this goes, and if it all comes together. So thank you very much for all your time and effort, and please echo my sentiments to your staff as well.
I will. Thank you.
The other thing I'll say on a positive note that didn't make it into this presentation that I saw is the pathways into calculus for math, and I believe the way that you've set it up for the incoming classes, there's sort of two jumping off points, right? Like if you're too afraid to take it your freshman year, there will be another point in your high school career where you can get onto that path. And I think that's really, really important because some kids may be afraid to make that initial step. And so it allows them, like you said, to change their mind and to get into a different pathway. And so I think that's really great. I was really happy to see that. Anyone else?
No.
Just the wellness, piece, that's really exciting, and taking that ownership of the choosing the activity. Because, they're in high school, they know what they're interested in, for the most part. And I think you'll get more, like you said, more output, more engagement when they choose. So that's exciting to note as well.
I think it's great that, all I can remember of high school gym is the week we had to climb ropes or something. So I'm so glad we're spreading it out in a different direction. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Tebow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is old business, which is the discussion of the fiscal year 19 budget. Mr. Kiley, you want to maybe sort of update us on where we are and where the town budget stands?
Sure. So Mr. Barnes has been, he and I have been working on numbers. It sort of is continuing. We have a meeting on Thursday with the Finance Committee, Thursday night. So we'll find out, what questions they may have. But it is a difficult budget year. It's a difficult budget for both sides of the equation, so us and the town side. And there is still a deficit at this point, but I'm going to be meeting with Mr. Barnes again on Wednesday morning, and hoping that we can figure out some way to come to a resolution and have some assurances that we'll be able to work with these existing numbers moving forward. But it's not certain at this point.
Do you know, does the town have a projection for new growth yet? Just trying to give a sense of.
Yeah, there's in your, in your budget binder, in the town projections, you'll see that, let's see, so it's in section S. And I think it should be maybe the second page on that
Almost
section S, or maybe the first page for you?
Second page, 1.4 million.
Right,
Almost
1.4 million. New growth is, actually, new growth projected at 600,000, right?
Sorry.
For
you're right.
FY19.
That's the 2.5, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so, not a lot of new growth, and there really isn't, there aren't a lot of building permits out there. Most of the new growth is residential, which is not really what, what we're looking for.
I mean, I ask because, right, revenue goes up 2.5 plus new growth, but we're requesting 2.9, which is half of the town's budget, and so I think their revenues are probably just about at 2.9.
With health insurance going
Right.
up 12.66%.
Right.
So,
And another several $100,000 to VOC
Yeah.
for 15
Yeah.
additional students.
so there's some
it's
problems,
tough.
and that's, yes, you outlined it perfectly. That's why there are problems.
Yeah.
But we're still working with the town on it, and we do feel that, at least I feel that, we'll make every effort, Mr. Barnes will make every effort to work with us and try and resolve the deficit that exists at the moment, and that we'll hopefully not have to change these numbers to the negative.
Questions?
I mean, the hard thing right now is you're doing this and you're working with the governor's budget. And you're not gonna see either the House or the Senate's till April or May.
Right.
And then they'll hammer them together. And after town meeting,
One of the
they'll present
arguments for a council form of government, right?
You
You
know.
have a lot more flexibility.
a lot more flexibility sometimes. But I'm a broken record, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's the problem you have trying to put something together now with no disrespect to anybody, lousy numbers, for lack of anything, I mean, the state revenues are up, they're not up as much as they would like them to be, but they're ahead. They should be able to project more for next year. I was at an MMA breakfast, a couple of weeks, last week, and, the revenues are up, so, they're kind of making their benchmarks on a little bit more, so they should be able to squeeze more out, if they ever get there.
And the year after
Act
that,
together.
there's a good deal of revenue uncertainty too with the ballot initiatives. Anywhere if one passes and the other doesn't, you're up several billion, you're down several billion. If just the sales tax, you're down. If just the millionaire's tax, you're up. If
Yeah.
not, it's just about a wash. So it's really gonna be a tough couple of years.
Somebody better really think about that sales tax, because school building is included in that sales tax, so there's a major issue, a major problem there if that sales tax passes. Sorry.
It's true.
Questions about the budget? The process, where we are?
Great job.
So, remind me, the vote comes next meeting?
At the earliest.
Timeline,
Can't be
okay.
tonight.
Right.
Because,
We had the
just
public
had the
hearing.
public hearing, so, yes, it could come the next meeting, and I'll prepare the motions for that.
Okay.
If you choose to vote it at the next meeting, then, we'll be ready to go for that.
Okay,
And hopefully we have some positive information
right,
at that point.
from the House or the
I
Senate.
believe we're also scheduling a joint meeting with the Select Board and the Finance Committee
Right.
in April,
April.
so that'll, hopefully we have some firm numbers by
Okay.
that point.
Okay,
Good luck.
Thank
Good
you.
luck Thursday night.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, so next, moving on to new business, we have school policy. Ms. Roy?
So the subcommittee met last week to review the graduation requirements. Mr. Tebow has pretty much walked us through most of these charts. So the current graduation requirements is 28 credits. There are 32 available. They need 28 to graduate, moving to a 7-period schedule, which will leave us with 28. So we gradually reduced each year incrementally. And as he answered Shannon's question, we generally incrementally make the changes. So the incoming freshmen will be the first group to have those changes to freshman seminar, to computer science, and the PE and wellness brought together. So this is the first reading. We ask you to review it. If you have any questions, Mr. Tebow's here to answer them. Otherwise, we will bring it back to the committee if you have questions that need to be made, or come for a second reading at the next.
Questions, comments?
No.
Suggestions?
No.
Okay, all right. Looks good. All right, so our next item on the agenda is the superintendent's update. Dr. Gifford?
I'll talk about a couple of things, just to let you know, anybody that missed the TED Talks that the high school held, you can go on our YouTube channel, so be sure to check out DHS TV Media, pull that on YouTube, and they were terrific, so I would encourage you to do that. We just started the MCAS infrastructure tests, and from Mr. Galashaw's report, the first one went extremely well. You know, once again, running the kids through the computer-based and the teachers reminding them of what things have to be done, et cetera. So that went well. As Ms. Paveo mentioned, we've been running a Safe and Kind initiative the last couple of weeks. We've asked all the schools to continue to and reinforce with the kids how to create an inclusive, kind, and peaceful school, and with that, what are the safety tips that we want to remind, especially our younger kids about, and you know, piggybacking with the Safe and Secure Schools initiative and the information session that we had. We have been accepted into the second phase of the Massachusetts Skills Capital Grant Program, so for good or for bad, because that means lots of work. But we did submit a letter of intent. We were accepted. So I met today with middle school and high school. We're trying to, they're all going to help write this next phase of the grant and try to get funds to enhance what we do at the middle school, as well as feeder programs for those robotic engineering programs up into the high school. Again, where it's focusing on pathways and kind of those vocational areas, but also we put in it that we'd like to have some help with the renovation of the 2 media centers, which we've been talking about, as we enhance them and to become the innovation labs, that because some of the work will be happening this summer at the high school. So we're excited about that. We just participated with the Lions Club. Our schools were good enough with everything else on their plate to do a penny wars contest. I guess it wasn't a contest, it was just a collection of pennies. So Dartmouth Public Schools, elementary schools, collected $47 in pennies. So, you know, it's just really about the partnership that we're building with the Lions Club. They've come to us a couple of times, so that we were happy about that. And also, Odie's Place, which is in up at Thoughts Corner Road, I believe, had reached out to us about supporting and thanking our emergency personnel, our first responders, and the person that runs it was looking at the area schools to create cards of thanks for our folks. So again, our schools agreed to do that, so I know this collection's being made, and we put little boxes in the schools, and so we're just happy once again to have partnerships with them. And the last thing I just wanted to mention was I applied for a grant through the superintendent's group, and I was chosen as one of the 8 superintendents that will be going to Portugal on an educational trip, leaving the Wednesday before April vacation and extending into the April vacation. So we'll be meeting with obviously educational leaders there and learning about the culture and their system, and so I'm really excited about that. I think I texted Ms. Roy and Ms. Oliveira the night I got the news I was accepted. It was just like, I'm going to Portugal. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah, there were 8 of us. It's through a Portuguese organization initiative that would pay for up to 8 superintendents. So that will be in April. And hopefully I'll bring back some good information. That's it.
I thought you were going to say food.
I'll try, I don't know.
Get pretty good Portuguese food in down here, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the only thing I might add is we had our informational session on school safety that went really well. It was well attended. If anybody didn't make it, for our viewing audience, DCTV has, I think, been re-airing that session. I'd also like to recognize, it was mentioned that Mr. Nunes was recognized by the Music Association for all the hard work that he has put in over the years, and it was a very well-deserved honor, and we're all quite proud of you as well, Mr. Nunes.
Thank you, I was very humbled.
Yes, you were.
It was a very
It was a
enjoyable evening.
It was a good choice, it was well-deserved. So are there any other matters that we'd like to discuss?
I would just like to mention that our Destination Imagination teams competed this past weekend at the regional tournament, and 3 teams, 2 from the elementary level and 1 from the middle school, won first place, and they'll be going on to the States. I think it's at, is it Worcester? It used to be in Worcester, yeah.
Yeah, we just got that info today.
Oh, it's wonderful. I love Destination Imagination. It's a wonderful program, so just want to mention that. Oh, and Thursday, there's a CPAC meeting.
Okay.
Managing challenging behavior at home.
Anyone, any other things to add?
No.
All right, so our next meeting, I had like 4 meetings on my calendar. I had to email Ms. I'm like, I don't think we're meeting 4 weeks in a row. She had to tell me the right dates. So I think I have it right that our next meeting is the 26th.
Yes.
If it's wrong, that is my fault. It was a reflection on me. So the next meeting is the 26th. At this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel and grievance matters. I didn't have that on my agenda, sorry. I was missing that. So not to return into open session.
So moved.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Amaral. May we have a roll call, please, Ms. Ganther?
Dr. Shannon Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. John Nunes?
Yes.
Ms. Kathleen Amaral?
Yes.
Dr. Carol Karafotis?
Yes.
Mr. Christopher Oliver?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. This meeting's adjourned.
Be safe.